Hey guys, EJ Spurl here. I just want to say that this is the final episode of our GamerGate series because, well, there's a number of other things that I want to talk about that aren't explicitly related to GamerGate. And soon I'll be starting up a new series. But in today's episode, I want to discuss something of legitimate interest to everyone invested in GamerGate and the outcome that we all hope for. I want to talk about the final boss. But before I get into all of that, I want to ask everyone who has yet to see Sargon's live stream, in which he spoke with game journalist, lifelong gamer, and equity feminist Leanna Kersner, to head on over to his channel and watch the interview. You can click the link in the low bar to check it out. It was actually incredibly refreshing to get a real insider glimpse on the other side of the issue without the posturing that's been occurring all over the internet. For that, Leanna gets my respect, and I'll be following her work more in the future. Because sometimes it helps to be reminded that the gaming media isn't completely full of Lee, I am a megaphone Alexanders, and Alex, impartiality is bullshit Lifshitzes. It's full of people, normal people, who have come under attack for even associating with some of the offenders that have stoked the fires of GamerGate. And it reminds us that the people on the other side of this legitimately believe that they've been doing right. In some cases, it's a case of making misguided choices and a failure to foresee the impact their choices would make in the gaming community. In other cases, it's a puerile form of idealism. And in the case of a select few within the industry, it's delusions of grandeur mixed with an infantile, uninformed worldview. But the fact remains that these people do believe that they're the good guys. But the rest of them, the Leanna Kersners and others, are only guilty of the crime of not choosing a side. Which, as many even on this side of the movement seem to forget, is not a crime at all. And by demanding that they choose sides, we're potentially subjecting them to the risk of harm. The industry itself is fairly closely knit. And as a result, when you start alienating people from within the community, you risk alienating yourself from it. It's hard to take a moral stand on something when making said stand could mean losing out on a paycheck or being booted out from the industry entirely. But here's the thing. Leanna said our voices have been heard. And you know what? I believe her. Because I believe she is a rational person. She's shown herself to be willing to accept criticism. And if any of you happen to catch her video calling out Anita Sarkeesian's bullshit, she's more than capable of leveling criticism in a rational manner. That being said, though, that leaves us with one last thing to ponder. How do we win this thing? To be honest, I think the question is a little lacking. The simple answer is that we don't win this thing. That being said, we don't lose either. We, as a consumer advocacy group, have spoken. We have made our points known. The moment we stood up in one clear voice for what we, as gamers, believe in and demanded reform, we realized the power we have. And if Leanna's right, we have been heard by the powers that be. That means we're at the last dungeon in our quest line, people. We've collected all the ultimate weapons. We've leveled up to a point where we're as powerful as we're going to get. We've uncovered their secrets. All that we have left to do is fight the final boss. And believe me, it's going to be a long, hard, and exhausting battle that will last for a long time. But so long as we persevere, and, like I've mentioned before, stay consistent and follow through, we're going to be able to watch those credits roll. I've done a lot of thinking on the subject, though. How do we really identify the last boss? Zoe Quinn? No. She was a recurring boss battle throughout the game. Alex Lifshitz? No. He was a blip, hardly worth mentioning for the most part. Lee Alexander? She lost credibility in my eyes long before GamerGate even started. But what if it's Will Wheaton and the rest of the so-called social justice warrior brigade? No. They were the random mobs, and they became easier and easier to ignore as the momentum of the movement overtook them. What about the censorship on 4chan and Reddit? It's unlikely. They were the towns in which we upgraded our weapons and the field in which we battled. The unfortunate scorched earth that was left behind in the wake of all the battles we fought thus far. Perhaps it's a battle that still needs to be fought, but the censorship has done little to actually slow us down. If anything, they gave us the tools we needed to fight with. So what about Maya Kramer, Silverstring Media, Digra, and DARPA? They're not even the final bosses. They're simply tools used by and for the antagonists. Tools that should arguably be repurposed, but not the final bosses. Traditionally, the last boss is always the hardest to defeat. It's the longest battle in the game, and it's usually someone you don't expect. If any of you might have caught the Video Boogie release last night, also linked in the low bar, you might have an inclination on where I'm going with this. Here's the thing. I think it's us. Not us as in GamerGate supporters, not even the detractors. It's the unseen agent provocateur on both sides of the coin. It's the trolls both on our side, on theirs, and everywhere in between. It's the people who advocate for immoral and sometimes illegal and unprofessional methods of engaging in this argument. It's the strangers within ourselves that somehow believe that insulting and degrading the other side, or both sides, is somehow okay or justified. Some of them can be identified. Some of them are big names in GamerGate. Most of them can't, though. But in my view, it's the actions of these few on both sides of the coin that have fueled the propaganda both for and against us. Many of them are driven by nothing more than schadenfreude. We've done well at calling these people out, at least on our side of the argument. They take a perverse pleasure in confusing the situation, whether through DDoSing, falsifying information, making fake screenshots, doxing, or otherwise. Any action these people take are immediately blamed on the antagonists of their victims. In some cases, they associate with one side or the other. In others, they're just getting their jollies. The final boss oftentimes does come with a plot twist. And for those of us who have been in the battle since the game started, we've experienced them firsthand. So yes, in essence, we ourselves are the final boss battle, and we are and will always be our own worst enemies. It's important that we clarify the distance between these people and the movement as a whole. We cannot take responsibility for the actions, but we must not ignore their actions. And we must admit to ourselves that by ignoring them, we are in essence approving of their actions. The boss must be given the same level of reverence we give every other boss in the game. But so long as we keep that in mind, we will win this game. And so long as we remember, when the credits finish rolling, when we're presented with the game menu again, we'll see that we have an option for New Game Plus. Anyway, that's about all I wanted to say. I am by no means done talking about GamerGate, but as I mentioned, I'm interested in exploring a broader range of topics. So watch out for new episodes of Trigger Warning in the near future, and a possible new Monday to Friday show in which I talk about whatever really strikes my fancy. From games, to movies, to books, TV shows, comics, social commentary. As some of you may already know, I am an author of fantasy and science fiction, so I'm also working on some dramatic video stories and possibly a game. So if that sounds like something that might interest you, I encourage you to subscribe and stay tuned. Once again, my name is EJ Spurl, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below, and we'll speak soon.